There was a man who came into my gas station every night at exactly 3:47 a.m. For months, he never said a word, never looked at me, never changed what he bought. And the night he finally spoke, I ran out of the store and never came back. Because that was the night I realized the routine wasn't just a habit. It was something he was desperately trying not to break. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Night shift regulars are weird by default. You learn that quickly. But people don't arrive at the exact same minute every night by accident, and they definitely don't react the way he did when the routine broke. This happened last year when I worked the overnight shift at a Shell station off Route 9, about 15 miles outside a small town called Millbrook. If you've ever driven through that part of the state late at night, you know how empty it gets. No streetlights for long stretches, just trees, road noise, and the occasional set of headlights cutting through the dark. My shift ran from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Most nights were quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that makes every sound feel louder than it should. The first time I saw him, I barely noticed him. He walked in around 4 in the morning, wearing a blue jacket and a baseball cap pulled low over his face. He didn't look homeless or drunk, didn't smell like cigarettes or alcohol. He grabbed 3 things: a bottle of water, a pack of peanut M&Ms, and a banana. He placed them on the counter without saying a word. I told him the total. He handed me a $10 bill, didn't look at me once. When I checked the register afterward, the timestamp read 3:47 a.m. I shrugged it off. The next night, I noticed, because at 3:47 a.m. the door opened again. Same man, same jacket, same 3 items, same silence. This time, I tried to make eye contact. Nothing. He paid, waited for his change, and walked out. 3:47 a.m. After that, it happened every night I worked. Always 3:47, never early, never late. And it wasn't just the time. He walked the same path through the store every night, avoided the same aisles, paused in front of the bananas like he was choosing carefully, then picked one from the exact same spot. It stopped feeling random. It felt rehearsed. After a few weeks, my body started reacting before my brain did. Around 3:45, I'd feel my shoulders tense. My eyes would keep drifting toward the door. Sometimes I'd catch myself holding my breath without realizing it. And every time, right on cue, his car would pull into the lot. Then one night, he came early, 3:34 a.m. I remember staring at the clock, waiting for him to leave, waiting for the routine to correct itself. But instead, he walked straight up to the counter. No snacks, no wandering, just stood there. For the first time, I could see his face clearly. His eyes were bloodshot, wide, like he hadn't slept in days. I asked if he needed something. He didn't answer. He reached into his jacket. My hand slid under the counter toward the panic button. But instead of a weapon, he pulled out a $10 bill, placed it on the counter, and walked out. I told myself it was nothing. People have bad nights. People act strange at 3 a.m. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted, like I'd just watched a clock tick backward. The next day, curiosity got the better of me. I opened the security footage. I watched him come in the night before, then the night before that, then again. Out of curiosity, I kept scrolling. Back weeks, then months. Same man, same routine. Then I checked the afternoon footage. 3:47 p.m. He was there too, every day for years. That's when I found the article and local news report from a few years back. A family in Millbrook murdered in their home. Neighbors reported hearing screaming. The timestamp on the police call? 3:47 a.m. The suspect's name was Michael Torres. Height, build, clothing description, every detail matched. The photo made my stomach drop. It was him. I didn't want to go back to work, but I needed the paycheck. At 3:47 a.m., the door opened. He walked straight to the counter with a plastic bag already in his hand. Water, M&Ms, banana. He placed them down carefully. Then he looked at me. "You're early," he said. He told me the routine kept it from being real, that if he repeated it perfectly every night, the memory stayed quiet. He said breaking it made things leak through, and when I told him I was calling the police, he leaned in and whispered, "You broke it." I ran, locked myself in my car, and called 911. When the police arrived, he was still inside, standing at the counter, waiting for his change. I quit that night. I still can't look at a clock at 3:47 without feeling sick, because somewhere out there, someone might still believe that repeating the same routine can undo something unforgivable. If you've ever worked the night shift, tell me honestly in the comments, would this have scared you? And if you want more true night shift horror stories, subscribe to Haunted Pumpkin, because the next one gets worse. I've worked hotel security for years, and the worst part of the job isn't drunk guests or break-ins. It's the empty floors. The floors that are completely shut down. No guests, no reservations, no reason for anyone to be there. Because if you see someone on those floors, it means they were never supposed to be in the building. And last October, on a night when our hotel had only 3 guests total, I saw someone standing on the 4th floor. The problem was, the 4th floor was supposed to be empty. I remember staring at the security monitor, trying to convince myself it was a camera glitch, but the longer I watched, the more obvious it became. That wasn't static, that was a person. The hotel was called the Grand View, an old downtown building that had been slowly dying for years. 10 floors, 200 rooms. On a busy night, maybe 15 guests. Most nights it felt abandoned after midnight. I worked security from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., graveyard shift, 2 walking rounds per night. The rest of the time, I sat alone in a basement office watching security feeds. 12 cameras, grainy footage, long, dark hallways. You get used to the emptiness. That was my first mistake. That night started like any other. Only 3 guests checked in, all on the 2nd floor. 1 long-term resident on the 10th. Every other floor was dark, locked, and supposedly empty. I checked the monitors. Everything looked normal, until the elevator stopped on the 4th floor. Nobody should have been there. I watched the feed. Doors opened. Empty hallway. Doors closed. I shrugged it off. Then it happened again and again. Each time the elevator stopped on floor 4, opened to an empty hallway, then closed. That was when the feeling started. The one you don't like to acknowledge on night shift. The feeling that something is moving through the building without showing itself yet. At midnight, I grabbed my flashlight and did my first round. Floor 2 was fine. Quiet TVs behind closed doors. Floor 3 was empty. When I reached floor 4, the air felt colder. Emergency lights only. Long hallway. No movement. I checked doors as I went. Locked, locked, locked. Then I reached room 413. The door was cracked open, just an inch. That should never happen on a vacant floor. I announced myself. No response. Inside, the room looked untouched. Beds made, no luggage. But the window was open, October air pouring in. I closed it, locked it, and left. I told myself housekeeping forgot. I didn't believe it. Back in the security office, I checked the monitors again. That's when I saw him, a person standing at the far end of the 4th floor hallway. Not walking, not pacing, just standing there, facing room 413. I rewound the footage. He didn't walk into frame. 1 second, the hallway was empty. The next, he was already there. Then I pulled the keycard locks. Room 413 had been accessed that night. Someone checked in using a stolen credit card. The system never flagged the room as occupied, which meant someone was hiding in the hotel, watching the cameras, watching me. I called the front desk and told them to contact police. Then I did the one thing I shouldn't have done. I went back to the 4th floor alone. I knocked on room 413. A man answered from inside. Calm, confident. He said, "You saw me on the cameras, didn't you?" That's when I knew he had been watching me the entire night. And when he said he couldn't go back to prison, I ran. He came out of the room behind me. Footsteps in the stairwell. Too close, too fast. I didn't stop running until I hit the lobby. Police arrived seconds later. They arrested him at the bottom of the stairs. He had a knife in the room and a list of hotels circled on a city map. I quit 2 weeks later. I still think about how many nights I walked those empty floors thinking I was alone. If you've ever worked a night shift in a place like that, tell me in the comments, would you have checked that room? And if you want more true night shift horror stories, subscribe to Haunted Pumpkin, because the next story proves being alone at work is sometimes the most dangerous illusion of all.
The worst part about working overnight in a parking garage isn't the isolation. It's realizing that the booth you're sitting in, the one meant to keep you safe, has 2 doors. And the night I remembered that, someone was already using the one behind me. I was alone. 7 levels of concrete above me, hundreds of blind corners, and the cameras were showing someone moving through the garage, slowly, deliberately, like they were deciding when to approach. This happened last winter while I worked overnight as a parking garage attendant in downtown Seattle. Graveyard shift, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Most nights, fewer than 10 cars came through. The rest of the time, it was just me, the booth, and the echo of tires somewhere above. The booth was small, bulletproof glass on 3 sides, 1 door facing the garage, 1 door behind me leading into a storage room. We only ever locked 1. At around 2:45 a.m., a dark sedan entered the garage. Nothing unusual at first. I dispensed a ticket. The car drove up to level 1. 5 minutes later, I glanced at the monitor. The same car was circling level 3. Slow. Too slow. The car didn't park. It moved level by level. 5 minutes on each floor. Full loops. Up to level 7, then back down. Passing the exit. Not leaving. Starting over. And every time the camera caught the driver's face, I saw the same thing. Sunglasses. At 3 a.m. By 4 a.m., my stomach was tight. This wasn't indecision. It wasn't confusion. It felt intentional, like someone mapping the building. At 4:47 a.m., the pattern broke. The car parked on level 5, far corner, darkest spot. The engine shut off. Minutes passed. Then the driver's door opened. A figure stepped out. Tall, hood up, sunglasses still on. They walked into the stairwell. I watched the camera cycle. Level 4, the stairwell door opened. The figure stepped out, scanned the cars, then disappeared again. Level 3, level 2. They were coming down, toward me. Then they stopped, looked directly into the camera, and waved. I grabbed my phone to call 911. That's when I heard movement behind me. From the storage room, a soft shuffle. I turned slowly toward the door behind the booth. I had never locked it. The camera cycled again. The person on level 2 was gone. They weren't on any cameras, which meant they were either hiding or already inside. The storage door handle began to turn. I grabbed the tire iron we kept in the booth. The door opened. A young man stepped out, hands shaking, face pale. He whispered, please don't scream." Before I could respond, something slammed against the booth glass. A woman, pounding, crying, blood on her clothes. The police and ambulance arrived quickly. They took statements. They asked questions. I learned later they had been living in their car. I learned why they were desperate. But none of that changed what stayed with me. Because for over 2 hours, they had been circling me, watching, testing. And if I hadn't noticed the cameras, if I hadn't heard that sound behind me, I don't know how that night would have ended. I still work night shifts, but I lock both doors now. And every time I see a car circling too slowly, I feel that same cold realization crawl up my spine. If you were in that booth, would you have opened the door? Tell me in the comments. And if you want more true night shift horror stories, subscribe to Haunted Pumpkin, because the last story proves that sometimes the scariest nights don't end the way you expect.
I don't believe in ghosts. Let me say that up front. I'm a practical person. I believe in what I can see, touch, measure. But I can't explain what happened to me at the Riverside manufacturing plant last November. I can't explain the footsteps that matched mine perfectly, step for step, on a floor that had been closed for 2 years. I can't explain the fresh footprints in 2-year-old dust. And I definitely can't explain how a machine that hadn't been powered in 24 months turned itself on, with me standing right next to it. I worked as a quality control inspector at Riverside Manufacturing in Gary, Indiana. We made automotive parts, pistons, gaskets, engine components. The facility was huge, 3 floors, about 200,000 square feet total. The company ran 2 shifts, day shift from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., evening shift from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. But they also needed someone to do nightly inspections, check equipment, make sure everything was shut down properly, look for any safety issues, that kind of thing. That was my job, the graveyard shift walker. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., Sunday through Thursday. I'd come in after evening shift cleared out, and I'd walk the entire facility, every floor, every department, checking gauges, looking for leaks, making sure machines were in standby mode, documenting anything that needed maintenance attention. It usually took me about 3 hours to do a complete walkthrough. The rest of the time I'd spend in the office doing paperwork, reviewing production reports, updating maintenance logs. I'd been doing it for 6 months. Decent pay, lots of solitude, no supervision. Perfect job for someone like me who preferred working alone. The first 2 floors were active production areas, assembly lines, machining stations, quality testing equipment. During my shift, everything was powered down, but still warm from the day's production. The 3rd floor was different. 3rd floor had been shut down 2 years before I even started working there. There'd been an accident. A worker named Dennis Kowalski got caught in one of the hydraulic press machines, Machine 7 specifically. They called it the stamper, huge press that shaped metal sheets into engine housings. Dennis was doing routine maintenance, thought the machine was locked out, but something went wrong. The press came down while he was inside it. They found him the next morning when day shift came in. After that, corporate decided to shut down the whole 3rd floor, moved all production to floors 1 and 2, sealed off the stairwell access, cut power to the 3rd floor entirely. They were planning to eventually renovate it or lease it out, but 2 years later, nothing had happened. It just sat there, dark, empty, gathering dust. Part of my nightly routine was to check the 3rd floor access door, make sure it was still locked and sealed. Just a quick check, note it in my log, move on. I'd never actually been up there. Until November 18th. It was a Sunday night, first shift of my work week. I started my walkthrough at 10:30 p.m. like always. First floor, working my way through each department. Stamping section, checked. Assembly line 1, checked. Assembly line 2, checked. Everything normal. I was in the machining department, walking between the rows of CNC machines when I heard it. Footsteps above me. I stopped. The footsteps stopped. I looked up at the ceiling. The third floor was directly above the machining department. Probably just the building settling. Old factory, metal structure, temperature changes at night. Makes all kinds of noises. I kept walking. The footsteps started again, and they matched my pace exactly. I took 3 steps. I heard 3 steps above me. I stopped. They stopped. I felt the hair on my neck stand up. I started walking again, but this time I varied my rhythm. Step, step, pause, step. Above me, step, step, pause, step. Perfect synchronization.
I pulled out my radio. We had a security guard who did exterior rounds, a guy named Phil who mostly sat in his truck by the front gate. "Phil, you copy?" Static, then. "Yeah, go ahead." "You see anyone enter the building tonight? Any cars in the lot besides mine?" "Negative, just you. Why?" "I'm hearing noises on the 3rd floor." "Third floor has been sealed for 2 years, man." "I know, that's why I'm asking." "Want me to come check it out?" "I thought about it. No, it's probably nothing. Just the building making noise. I'll keep an ear out." "All right, holler if you need me." I continued my walkthrough, but I couldn't shake the feeling. Every time I walked through a section that had the 3rd floor above it, I'd hear the footsteps, matching mine, step for step. By midnight, I'd finished the 1st floor and most of the 2nd floor. I stood at the sealed stairwell door that led to the 3rd floor. It was marked with yellow caution tape and a sign, "Authorized personnel only, floor closed." The door had a padlock on it, but I had the master key set. Part of my job was having access to everything in case of emergency. I should have just noted it in my log and moved on, but those footsteps, they hadn't stopped. Every section I walked, I heard them above me, matching my pace perfectly. I needed to know what was causing it. I unlocked the padlock. It came off with a metallic click that echoed in the empty building. I opened the door. The stairwell was dark. Emergency lights provided just enough illumination to see the steps. I pulled out my flashlight and started climbing. The air got colder as I went up, stale, like breathing in dust and abandonment. At the top, another door, also locked. I used my key. The door opened with a long, rusty creak. I stepped onto the 3rd floor and swept my flashlight across the space. It was exactly how you'd imagine an abandoned factory floor. Production equipment covered in dust and plastic tarps, tool carts left exactly where they'd been 2 years ago, papers on clipboards, yellowed and curling, a calendar on the wall still showing the month of the accident, everything frozen in time. The floor was concrete, covered in a thick layer of undisturbed dust. My footsteps echoed in the massive space, and then I heard them, the matching footsteps, but this time they were on the same floor as me. I spun around, flashlight cutting through the darkness. "Hello? Security? Someone there?" The footsteps stopped. Silence. Just my breathing and the distant hum of machinery from the floors below. I started walking slowly, flashlight moving methodically across the floor, between equipment, checking behind plastic-covered machines. Nothing. Nobody. I was alone. Then my flashlight caught something on the floor. Footprints. In the dust. Fresh footprints. Leading from where I was standing, deeper into the factory floor, toward the far corner where the hydraulic presses were located. My footprints only went a few feet from the door, but these other prints, they went all the way across the floor. I followed them.
They led in a straight line, weaving between equipment, heading directly toward one specific machine, Machine 7, the stamper, where Dennis Kowalski died. The footprints stopped right in front of Machine 7. I stood there, flashlight pointed at the massive hydraulic press. It was easily 15 feet tall, industrial gray metal, dust-covered like everything else. The machine was open. The press plate was in the up position, creating a gap of about 4 feet. You could walk into that gap. That's what Dennis had been doing when it came down on him. I looked at the footprints. They went right up to the machine, and they stopped. Didn't circle around it, didn't back away, just stopped. Like whoever made them had walked directly into the machine and disappeared. I took a step back, my heart pounding. This was wrong. Everything about this was wrong. I turned to leave, to get the hell off this floor and call someone. Phil, my supervisor, the police, anyone. And I heard a sound that made my blood freeze. A mechanical whir. The stamper was powering on. I spun around, flashlight shaking in my hand. The machine shouldn't be able to power on. The entire third floor's electrical system had been shut down. Breakers pulled, power lines disconnected. But I could hear it. The hydraulic system pressurizing. The familiar sound I'd heard 1,000 times on the production floors below. The machine was waking up. The press plate started moving. Down, slowly, then back up, down, up, like it was breathing. I couldn't move. I was frozen, watching this impossible thing happen. The press came down again, and this time when it rose back up, I saw something. A shadow inside the machine, the shape of a person. The press came down again. The shadow was clearer now. A man, arms raised, trying to push against the descending press. The press came down. The shadow screamed. I couldn't hear it, but I could see it. See the mouth open, the body convulsing. The press came down. And I understood. The machine was showing me what happened, showing me Dennis Kowalski's last moments, over and over and over. The press came down again, and this time I heard the scream, distant, echoing, not coming from the machine, but from everywhere at once, a sound of pure agony and terror. I ran, dropped my flashlight, didn't care, just ran. Back through the factory floor, equipment looming on both sides, dust kicking up with each step. Behind me, I heard footsteps, running, matching my pace, getting closer. I hit the stairwell door, yanked it open, took the stairs 3 at a time. The footsteps followed, right behind me, so close I could feel them, feel the vibration in the metal stairs. Ground floor, I burst through the door, sprinted through the first floor production area, hit the exit, and didn't stop running until I was outside in the parking lot. Phil's truck pulled up next to me. He jumped out. "What the hell, man? I heard you on the radio. You were yelling." I was bent over, hands on my knees, gasping for air. "The third floor," I managed. "Something's up there. The machine, it turned on." "What machine? Nothing up there has power." I know, but it turned on. Machine 7. I stopped. What did I see? Phil looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "You want me to call someone?" "I want you to go up there and look. The footprints, you'll see the footprints." Phil went up to the third floor. He came back down 20 minutes later. "There's nothing up there, man. No footprints except yours. No machines running. Nothing." "That's impossible. I saw." "Look, you've been working nights alone for months. Sometimes the mind plays tricks. This place is creepy as hell at night, I get it. But I knew what I'd seen. The next morning, I told my supervisor I was done, couldn't do night shift anymore. They transferred me to day shift quality control. I never went back to the third floor. But I did some research, found out that Dennis Kowalski had been working the graveyard shift when he died. He was alone on the third floor doing a maintenance check at 2:47 a.m. when the machine activated. They never figured out how it turned on. The investigation ruled it a mechanical failure, but they couldn't identify what failed. Some of the other workers, the ones who'd been there when it happened, they said Dennis had been complaining for weeks before the accident, complaining about hearing footsteps on the 3rd floor when he worked alone at night, footsteps that matched his own. I still work at Riverside Manufacturing. During the day, the 3rd floor doesn't seem scary at all. It's just an abandoned production floor waiting to be renovated. But sometimes, when I'm on the 2nd floor in the machining department, right around 2:47 p.m., I hear footsteps above me, step for step, matching whoever's walking below. And I wonder if Dennis Kowalski is still up there, still walking his route, still checking machines, still trying to finish the shift he never got to complete. They say residual hauntings are like recordings, traumatic events that play over and over in the same location. But I don't think that's what the 3rd floor is. I think it's a warning, a loop that Dennis got stuck in, trying to warn the next person, trying to show them what happened so it doesn't happen again. He wasn't trying to scare me that night. He was trying to save me by showing me his death over and over until I understood some machines shouldn't be trusted, some floors shouldn't be walked alone, and some footsteps you hear at night aren't echoes of your own. They're echoes of someone who came before you, someone who didn't make it out.